All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Labor Day for those of you who are able to be getting out and enjoying the nice day. It looks like, from what it sounds like, the first half of today is going to be quite lovely, sunny and warm, and then apparently some kind of hurricanes coming through Portland. So hold on to your trees and small cats and whatever else you got going outside. And who knows, maybe this is what wakes up the murder hornet. So we move on to the next phase of this glorious year. So without jumping around too much more, let's just kind of get right into the general flow of things. So you know me, I just want like do my quick Monday updates, let you guys know what's happening in the market, what we're seeing. And then there's some I think some interesting news articles. We're going to talk about kind of what's happening here in the mortgage world or in the real estate world. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in. Hey Jeff, how's the market? Well, here we go. In Oregon, not too surprising, the Portland metro area, lockbox activity is down 1.5%, basically meaning every time Jeannie and I go and open a door for clients, it registers a hit on lockbox activity. It's trending down. It typically does in August. Early September is usually kind of, that part is slow kind of as we wrap up kind of fall heading back into school. So to see, and this is, a week old activity. So this is, truly kind of wrapping up for the end of August, if you will. So it's down, not too surprising. I think had it not been for COVID earlier in the year, it probably would have been down a little bit lower than that. I think we're seeing a push from the COVID blip, if you will. So it's down. It's not catastrophic. It's seasonal. It's to be expected. If you look at kind of last year, the trend line, it continues to start kind of slowing down a bit. This year, who knows? I mean, with such a shortage of inventory, more people working from home, less people traveling, more people who are still gainfully employed will have time to look for houses. All bets are off this year. So let's wait and kind of see what happens. Meanwhile, across the river on the Washington side, similar thing, down, not quite as much, but down. Again, seasonal happens, but it is holding in fairly well at only 0.4%. So while it is down, it's not anything overly shocking. So kind of want to talk about a few things that are kind of happening that I think are driving a lot of the stories. And then there's a question and I guess a debate, if you will, that people ask me about all the time or kind of challenge me. Hey, why do you think real estate's so great going forward? With COVID and we've got all these people that are unemployed. You can't deny, people aren't making the mortgage payments. There's going to be this glut, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to talk about going through those types of discussions of why I still think that home ownership is a fantastic option, and why I think it's pretty much one of the safest ones around at this point. So we're going to kind of walk through a little bit of a rhythm, and we'll kind of hit the grand point here at the end. So in the headlines, mortgage rates are below 3%, but prices are starting to kind of push people out of the market. Prices are up dramatically year over year. They are up dramatically just over the past several months. This is Portland. This is national. This is almost everywhere across the country. Some places are doing just fine. Midwest, Tornado Alley, places that we say all the time, who wants to live there? But in a lot of places, the vast majority of the country, there's just such a undersupply of houses. This kind of goes back to the Great Recession. It kind of dovetails into COVID, where people don't want to be listing their homes and having a bunch of strangers coming through. It's sort of that perfect storm. But so mortgage rates are super low, which is fueling that increased demand, which is exacerbating supply. So demand, supply, right? You're upside down. Prices are going up. It's starting to price people out of the market. If you look at the little sub headline, I kind of crop it in for a reason. That even with these rates being this low, some people are still seeing larger mortgage payments than they would have a year ago. And all that is the mortgage rates are significantly lower than they were a year ago. The prices are significantly higher. And certainly if you're in a high price tag area, New York, San Francisco, San Diego, Seattle, starting to be Portland a little bit, you're starting to offset some of the benefit. So probably going to see a tempering of expectations coming up in terms of demand, but who knows? So dovetailing to that, with those record low rates, that mortgage demand is 28% higher than a year ago. What you can't necessarily probably read, because this thing's a little bit of an eye chart here, is mortgage demand is 28% higher than last year. But what is down are refinance requests. And I think some of that is because people over time, if you're say like, Jeannie and I'll just share this publicly. We're at 3.375. Try to get our rates down that much lower. We can hit miss, here or there. It gets a little tough. The benefit is not as significant. So you don't have a lot of people sitting at, 4.5%, 5% mortgage rates anymore that say, hey, I can cut to 4, 3, or not 4, sorry, 3, or the upper twos. You don't have that. I think a lot of people already done their refis. But by and large, I think it's more of a function of from COVID. I think you're also seeing an impact of people saying, I need a better backyard. I need a home office. I need more room for the kids. We need places for me to work from home and now for my kids to do online school from home. And a lot of houses aren't working for people. So people need to go off and get a mortgage. They need to go move. So they're moving. So I think that's probably a big part of it. We're certainly seeing and hearing part of that. As a side anecdote, one of my kids needs a new desk. We're just trying to get a cheap little basic desk at IKEA. And I mean, they'll get 120 of these desks in and they will be sold out in 2 hours. So that's crazy. So I think there's a lot happening here as it relates to that kind of stuff. So then, of course, your demand is up. Your cost to buy is down as it relates to mortgages. So your home prices are just exploding, right? You don't have the supply. Demand is high. Mortgage rates are cheap. So your prices are just skyrocketing. And this is nationally. So you're going to temper that down with some places where prices are flat to soft, and you're still, home prices are just blowing up all across the country. So with that, there's a graphic that came out, I'm going to share in just a second, that talks about, okay, so prices are sky high. So this has got to be a bad time to buy, right, Jeff? And what I'd say is the price tag is one part of your equation. The bigger part then is what's your cost to borrow, what's your cost of capital. If you currently own another home, you're looking to upsize, downsize, lateral, but get a better yard, whatever the case may be. You got a lot of moving pieces. So you can't fixate just on prices are up, especially if you're an existing owner, right? Because if all the other prices are up, well, yours is too. So that said, this graphic came out, I thought it was kind of interesting. When was the last time housing was this affordable? And Portland's a little bit of a dot. I can't really read it, but October 2015. So 5 years ago was the last time it was this affordable. But at prices we showed as of last month had the average price had eclipsed 500,000 for the first time. How are they as more affordable than they were 5 years ago? It's mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are comically cheap, depending if you're doing conventional or jumbo. If you got a good credit, all that kind of fun stuff. So some places are not faring quite so well. You see some of the red dots sprinkled throughout, but Portland's hanging in there just fine. So it's 5 years ago that they were this cheap, or this affordable. Slight difference, I guess. So this affordable. So kind of keep that in mind. So I found that just kind of interesting. And then there was a study that came out showing, hey, prices are skyrocketing all over for the month of August. The prices are up to over 400 on a national median basis, which again, national, who cares? Inventory is the big one. Inventory is down 20% annually. A lot of that's going to be COVID, frozen in place people who aren't working. It's not the right time to sell. A lot of that too also is going to be just that inherent undersupply that was created coming out of the Great Recession. So, that said, this study here then kind of went on to show where are kind of the hot zip codes within different regional areas. So, of course, let's jump to Portland, right? So I know you can't really read this, but we'll zoom in here in a second. This is kind of showing our great region here in general. You probably can't really make out the Portland blip there in the middle. Find in the middle of the map the dark red dot. Go up. There's Portland. So here's sort of your at a high level. Here's how Portland is looking in terms of what this study is calling your hot zip codes and its price growth and movement and so forth. So let's do a little bit more of a finite zoom in. Here you go. So now you can see Portland, Hillsborough, Vancouver. You can see it kind of sandy, boring, and so forth. And keep in mind, these are based on zip codes, right? So it's not just this particular area. So take us with a grain of salt, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. So, dead center, Lake Oswego, lights up crimson red. It's not super surprising, I don't think, because you got a lot of people who, companies are still working. Companies are still going on. You got a lot of people living here who own the companies, doctors, physicians, high net worth people who are just cruising along just fine. So they're taking advantage of the low rates too. They're getting on the lake canals, whatnot, just high net worth homes. So it doesn't take much for like us to kind of skew these types of charts. Two parts I think are interesting is kind of to the northwest of Portland, kind of the vein was sort of going up over it, kind of northwest Portland and kind of heading up the river. So you're starting to get in those areas where you're going to pick up places like Scappoose and St. Helens, and I can assure you that's a lot of what's driving some of those zip code growths right there. Those are areas that have been very entry level friendly. You've got some back road commute options to get over to Hillsborough from there, and prices up there have just been going absolutely crazy down. So St. Helens for sure, whereas it used to be super affordable, it's super competitive now. And then similarly, you kind of go straight east of Lake Oswego, and you're kind of getting out more towards Sandy and that type of area. And again, there's people who, hey, I want that work-life balance. I can work from home. I want some more accessibility. Yeah, let's get closer to the mountain and let's do it out there. Otherwise, you kind of see it's a smattering. Some areas are doing great. Some areas just sort of look okay. I just found it to be kind of an interesting thing. If you want a link to this website to kind of play around with it or look more specifically, just let me know. Happy to share it. So last couple of things, we're seeing a majority of young adults living with their parents for the first time since the Great Depression. Of course, everyone's coming home and the noise breaks out now. But this is just simply nothing more than with affordability going up. And really more so than this is skewed a bit, these stories, if you actually read the articles. It's related to people it's university students. The schools are closed down, so they're at home doing college courses. They're just out getting started. Maybe they're wait staff and whatnot. They're not working because of COVID, so they're back home for a period of time. We are seeing it a little bit more with some of our listings here in the Portland area, but by and large, it's just something I think it's more of a temporary skew. Now, the one question I get asked fairly regularly by a lot of people is why I think real estate still is going long term to be a great thing, given COVID, unemployment, everything else kind of coming up. Well, and just having to be kind of good timing of article that came out of why this foreclosure is going to be nothing like the last one. And here's why. At the end of the day, with the Great Recession, what you had was you had a broken financial system, right? You had homes that had been hyper overvalued. People had no equity in their homes. People were kind of moonshotting all their houses. And it was super unstable, right? Plus there was a glut of housing that was out there. So you fast forward to now, and there's a massive shortfall. We have record equity levels for homeowners, right? Because you've been riding this, the wave back up. We're well beyond pre-Great Recession home value prices. So people have the value. They can just pull it out. They can sit tight. And to the extent that you have people who do say, I can't do it anymore, and they're going to lose houses, they're going to see foreclosures, they're going to see things happening and force them out. It's highly unfortunate. But at the same time, what you're going to see is it's going to be probably more of an alleviation of the chronic shortfall of inventory that we're seeing. So will it have an impact? Absolutely. It absolutely will. Is it going to mean that prices are going to be dropping and cratering all over the country? Absolutely not, right? What it's going to do is it's going to take these skyrocketing growth in home value, 7, 8, 9, 10%. Maybe it brings it down to 3, 4, 5%. Brings it back down kind of to planet Earth a little bit and something that's a little bit more reasonable and sustainable. So I think that's what you're going to see, if anything. So it'll help calm the frenzies, but it's not going to upset or stop what we're seeing. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's your weekly update. Get outside, enjoy your nice Labor Day. God help us all at 5 o'clock or whatever this thing storms comes in at. So have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.